Why do growing businesses love working in Slack? Let's ask Christy at Ari Bikes.
Running things in Slack saves me so much time.
AI summaries save 97 minutes per week. What say you, Rox from Gosney?
Slack helps us build community, it helps us build connection.
Your partners, vendors and customers all in one place. Take us on home, Ashley from Caraway.
If we didn't have Slack tomorrow, I would explode.
Well, let's not let that happen. Visit slack.com/podcast to get 50% off Slack Business Plus.
I had that dream again. My small business needs to hire, but I don't use LinkedIn, and I hire wrong. So our orders get all backed up. We're drowning in paperwork, then actually drowning. Carol is fighting off sharks with a stapler, and pirates are pillaging the office copier, and then I wake up.
Don't let hiring nightmares ruin your dreams. LinkedIn Jobs' new AI assistant goes beyond the resume, using unique insights to deliver a smarter shortlist. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/quality. Start hiring today with LinkedIn.
This episode is brought to you by Stouffer's. Here comes three-time juggling champion Natalia Rogers. She's juggling law school, her TA job. Oh, narrowly catches the laundry. What's that fourth ball? Parents unexpectedly showed up at dinner time? Is that too much for Natalia? Not with Stouffer's Chicken Alfredo and its mouth-watering mix of Asiago, Romano, and Parmesan. When you're juggling four things at once and the clock strikes dinner, think Stouffer's.
Well, the holidays have come and gone once again, but if you've forgotten to get that special someone in your life a gift, well, Mint Mobile is extending their holiday offer of half off unlimited wireless. So here's the idea. You get it now, you call it an early present for next year. What do you have to lose? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Limited time, 50% off regular price for new customers. Upfront payment required. $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan. Taxes and fees extra. Speeds may slow after 50 gigabytes per month when network is busy. See terms.
Hello and welcome into the Birds of the Round Table. Happy 2026, our first show of the new year. And we're here to talk about just a little bit an Eagles loss, but really we're here to preview a playoff game where actual starters will play football. So welcome into the show. I'm your host, Shane Haff. Give me a follow on Twitter at ShaneHaffNFL. Joined as always by the crew. First up, we've got David. Give him a follow at David Neese PHL. David, how you doing?
Doing great. I've been waiting for this all season to talk about the playoffs, the postseason, the slow burn of the Eagles offense that's about to be unleashed in this weekend that nobody's ready for it, but it's coming, man.
All right. Slow burn. That's one way to put it. Also joined by Ryan. Give him a follow on Twitter at Philly Sports PSA. Ryan, how you doing?
Good. I was, holidays were nice, although I was a little sick over the holidays, but feeling better and super pumped about being down at the link and checking out another playoff, hopefully victory.
All right. Well, we will get into that matchup, but before we do, you guys that watch our show normally know that we typically will give top takeaways from the previous game, and then we will give our MVP of the game, all that stuff, and then we'll spin it forward and we will preview the next game. We're not going to do anything in depth for the Week 18 game. I mean, the Eagles didn't play starters, so we're not going to spend a lot of time on it, but I'll throw it to you first, David. Is there anything you do want to talk about? Actually, I'm going to throw it to Ryan first because he wasn't on post-game. Ryan, anything you want to talk about, anything that stuck out to you from the backups? I'll just throw that open-ended question to you.
Nice. Yeah, listen, Tanner McKee cost us a couple of rounds in trade value, and honestly, more than likely, he'll be the backup next year. No, but honestly, it was good to see some of these guys that we really haven't seen a lot, especially on the defensive side of the ball. The linebackers, seeing Ty Robinson. It was very bad to see Jacorian Bennett. I thought pretty sure they gained more yards throwing to him and him getting penalties than they did actual yards. But again, it was just kind of nice just to kind of see certain names that you had high hopes for earlier in the season. But other than that, yeah, it was a pretty crappy game and horrible game plan, and it was had a shot there to maybe get a second playoff game, home playoff game. But I do understand the rest is more important for them, and honestly, a healthier team is the best way to go into the playoffs.
All right. David, anything that you want to shout out from the backups game?
Yeah, the most notable difference to me was just regarding the offensive line's mobility. Many have questioned how serious the health of center Cam Jurgens and left guard Landon Dickerson has been for much of the season. I mean, Cam Jurgens has been hurt for over a year. He didn't even start in the championship game last year. He had to come in because somebody else got hurt. He was ailing then. He's had surgery since then. Landon's had at least one, maybe two. And against the Commanders, Drew Kendall and Cam Williams, they put on a show, man. Center Drew Kendall was active early and often. I mean, the difference in his ability to burst off the snap and get to the second level was night and day compared to what we've seen from the position this season. And I get it, tempering judgment. They were playing backups. But when you factor in this was his first start and all the responsibilities he had and all of the moving pieces he had, there were Pryor coming in, Cam coming in, Toth coming in, going out. I mean, he really absorbed a lot of changes there, and his explosion off the line and the way he handled everything was pretty impressive. So not to answer a question with the question, but I guess that's what I'm going to do. Did he play good enough in your mind that if Cam Jurgens was struggling in this game this week, would you feel comfortable with Drew Kendall at center?
I mean, I wouldn't feel comfortable about it, but
there's no comfortability. But
if Cam goes, I don't know that that's a move you could make. But like if Cam got hurt and he had to come in, I'd feel better about that than I did, prior to this game. It'd also be interesting to know if they would go with Brett Toth. Like if something happened to Jurgens in game, of course Toth is in concussion protocol, so
right.
He may not be
cleared. I mentioned Drew,
but they went with Toth earlier in the season when Jurgens was injured, so I'd be interested to know what they would do if Cam got hurt in the game. I would guess they would go with Toth, but I thought it was a positive showing by Kendall for sure.
Yeah, no, it absolutely was. And David, I think you mean when Cam Jurgens starts to struggle, because he's been awful this year. The biggest mystery that I think in the NFL this entire year is how did he make the Pro Bowl?
Well, the Pro Bowl's a joke. I don't know if that's a mystery.
Clearly, because there's no way, shape, or form that he should be a Pro Bowl player. He has been very bad. There have been numerous just absolute whiffs on blocks. And luckily, the reason why we're all aware of it is because Saquon has been so good to avoid that rush after, Cam kind of lets the guy in. But yeah, it's tough. I think the long season last year really took a toll on Cam. And, you didn't get the proper time to get his body right, clearly. Because you're right, dude.
Neck injuries linger. Neck and back could be career injuries.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an issue that's definitely going to have to be looked at. And Kendall, when you talk to him in the locker room, that guy wants to start. He isn't here satisfied to be a backup, man. He wants to play. He was disappointed that this was the only game he has played. I mean, literally, that was the first thing out of his mouth. Like, he wants to play. Like, he is not satisfied with this. But yeah, I think it's an interesting thing. I mean, even with the play of right guard, that's where Cam played before he came center. I mean, if you were moving on from Steen, you could maybe even kick him back over, even if he was healthy, if you like Kendall enough. But that's a conversation for next year. But I was just curious how impressed you were by him. If you,
no, he did well. And Williams as well.
He blew me away when I went back and watched it. I mean, just all of the line changes, how he handled it was just really impressive.
Cam Jurgens might need to hire a bodyguard and make sure that he doesn't get Nancy Kerrigan before this playoff game. Because we all know that he's not healthy enough to do much about it right now if Drew Kendall decided to come after him.
Right.
I'll mention, too, you mentioned Tanner McKee. It was a rough game from McKee. Started good, actually. First half, I thought he played really well, and then the wheels fell off. But
they kept asking him to throw too much.
Yeah.
Anytime this Eagles team, whether it's Hurts, McKee, whoever, if you're throwing the ball 40 times, it's not a recipe for success. It just isn't. And they were clearly fine with trying it out anyway. But
yeah,
it really just goes to show you whether or not they truly had any interest in trying to win this game.
Yeah, I won't relitigate the play calling, but it was another travesty of a performance by Kevin Patullo. Tank Bigsby had a 55% success rate when he touched the football, and he did not touch the football in the final 17 minutes of the game. But we don't have to go into all that. I'll go with positive here, and I thought Jeremiah Trotter Jr. looked good. I went back to I watched him for my player spotlight video for Patreon this week, and I went back and pulled my pre-draft scouting report and kind of read it beforehand and was looking for it. And he was better against the run than I thought he would be. And it's still a lot of he's going to try to duck blocks and avoid blocks, because when a guy squares him up, he can't anchor, he can't, pop the pads, reset the line of scrimmage, that sort of thing. And that's always going to be a limitation. And when you get a guy that's sub 12th percentile height, weight, and wingspan, that's just always going to be your lot in life. And so, that's something he's going to deal with for his whole career. But I thought he was solid in coverage. I thought he had some good awareness plays, coming up on play action and then turning and running and finding, a crosser that he could latch onto, things like that. And he had some good plays in the run game. And so, he's obviously linebacker 4 right now, but I'm here to tell you that if disaster struck and he had to play against 49ers, I wouldn't be that worried about it. I would still be more concerned about corner 2, safety 2 than I would be about linebacker 4, which is wild, as Brett Eclipse chimes in here. It's wild considering where the linebacker position has been. But I'm telling you right now, we can sustain 2 linebacker injuries much easier than we can sustain 1 injury anywhere across the secondary. And that's fun to see for the future. Doesn't bode well for the people that hope the Eagles will re-sign Nakobe Dean, because it ain't happening. But I was really impressed with Jeremiah Trotter Jr., and I've got a whole video up on Patreon if people want to go check that out too.
Yeah, if anybody wondered why the Eagles didn't play Adoree or Quignon, I think you saw that in HD. If one of them gets hurt, this postseason run is over.
I think I don't remember if I said this on postgame or in Discord, but if one of those guys goes down, give me Jalix Hunt at cornerback before you put Keely Ringo or I don't even want to say his name, Jacorian Bennett, he who must not be named, out there at cornerback. So yeah, I think that's all I've got really to talk about for the game. Anything else you guys want to shout out before we move on to the 49ers?
No, I think it ended debates. You're not going to hear the Tanner McKee over Jalen Hurts. You're not going to hear the Keely Ringo over Adoree Jackson. I think it pretty much solidified all of those discussions for the rest of this year.
Anybody that was saying Tanner McKee over Jalen Hurts to begin with is insane. So
they don't know ball.
Yeah. And I say that as a pretty big Tanner McKee guy. I've really liked him every time I've watched him, with the exception of this game.
Yeah.
And
his mobility is a factor, though. It is a deficit, in my opinion.
Especially playing behind an entire O-line of backups that gave up a lot of pressure. I do think you put him out there with the starters.
Yeah.
He would look good.
Yeah.
He would look good. And I doubt he leaves this offseason now because his trade value just dropped. But whenever he does inevitably leave, I hope he gets a chance to start somewhere, because I do think he's a good quarterback if you put him in the right situation. He is a match made in heaven for Sean McVay to be a successor to Matthew Stafford. And I hope we don't ever see it because they're in the NFC, but I do hope we get to see him start somewhere someday. But
another statue back there.
Yeah. So, all right, well, let's spin forward to the matchup with the 49ers. So the Eagles, as the 3 seed, will play host to the 49ers. Coming into Lincoln Financial Field on Sunday, the afternoon game. I think it's 4:30 kickoff or 4:25, whatever it is. We're going to go through matchups to watch on both sides of the ball. And so let's go. I think the most interesting matchup is the 49ers offense against the Eagles defense. So let's go 49ers offense versus Eagles defense. Just a little bit of a stat for you. So Brock Purdy was injured for the middle portion of the year. Mac Jones came in and played. But since Brock Purdy came back in Week 11, from Week 11 to 17, which was a 6-game span, the 49ers averaged 36 points per game. And then they scored 3 points against Seattle. But that's the lone bad performance. And there's some bad teams in there, but they put up 26 on Cleveland, who has a really good defense. They put up 48 on Indianapolis, 42 on Chicago. And so they've done it to some decent teams. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Another fun one is just the matchup between Fangio and Shanahan. They've faced each other 4 times in their coaching career. And granted, it has been a long time. But Ryan, I'll ask you, because I think I already gave this stat to David. How many points per game do you think Shanahan has scored on Vic Fangio over that 4-game sample?
I'm gonna lean on our boy Vic And I'm going to say 11 points.
11 points. That's pretty right on. It's 10.25 points per game.
Man, I'm good.
Yeah. Did you hear this stat?
Swear?
Okay.
No, because I would have said 10.25.
Yeah, it's 10.25 points, 1 touchdown in all 4 games combined, and it was in garbage time. Or maybe it was 1 touchdown that wasn't garbage time. I can't remember now. But now, granted, they haven't faced off in a long time. Shanahan was dealing with worse quarterbacks back then, but Fangio has had his number in the past. I think Shanahan and McVay are probably the 2 best designers offensively. I think Fangio is the best defensive coordinator in the NFL, and so it's great on great. So let's talk matchups to watch there. Ryan, I'll kick it over to you first. What's your first matchup to watch?
Yeah, it's got to be Christian McCaffrey just versus the Eagles defense, because, you can't just say, oh, it's, versus the rush defense, because he does so much. He is such a huge part of that San Francisco offense, rushing the ball inside, outside, whether it's, the screen game, whether it's dump offs, or whether he's lining up as a wide receiver, for crying out loud. Christian McCaffrey has to be a main focal point for this defense. And yeah, I think limiting him is going to be huge in the grand scheme of trying to slow down this offense, because, yes, they have Kittle and, they have a couple of, other wide receivers. Jennings is decent. But yeah, you shut down Christian McCaffrey. And again, it's going to take the entire team. It's not going to be, hey, one person, you go get him, pal. It's going to be everybody. So that's my main focus is Christian McCaffrey. When he is healthy, and he's deadly.
Yeah, it's been a down year as a rusher for Christian McCaffrey. I mean, he's got 1,200 yards, but it's 3.9 yards per carry. And so the 49ers have really struggled to have a run game this season. But McCaffrey is their leading receiver. He has 129 targets this year. 129, which is insane. I meant to look up what the Eagles' targets were just to give a comparison for people, and I'm going to pull that up really quick. But let's see. So he has more targets than A.J. Brown this season. A.J. Brown has 121. Christian McCaffrey has 129. So he is their leading receiver. He's their leading target getter. He is the weapon they're going to try to get the football to. But he's essentially a receiver for them now. He hasn't done that well as a running back this season, and so containing him through the air is going to be big. And I mean, the way Vic's going to play defense, it will often end up that you have a linebacker responsible for a running back in man coverage. And we all love Nakobe Dean, but one thing we've talked about this year is he is not as good in coverage, and I think the 49ers are going to try to exploit that matchup specifically. David, what about you? What's your top matchup to watch?
Yeah, I mean, the defense has only given up 14.5 points per game since week 8, and a lot of that is because of the trenches. They're built for these types of games. The Niners' offensive line is struggling through injuries, and you kind of saw against that Seattle game how the OLs just were beaten on every play by Seattle's defensive tackles and edge rushers. I mean, they just battered them the whole day. They were able to get nothing. I can't remember what Christian McCaffrey did in that game, but it was little to nothing. They just devoured him. And if you can do that, like Seattle just did, like the Bucs have done to them, it's a big advantage, because it's something they've struggled with all year was good defensive tackles. So, I mean, Ryan nailed it. Brock Purdy comes back to Philadelphia with something to prove. For 3 years since the last championship loss, they've basically discussed how, things would have been different had he had been healthy. Well, now he gets his chance to prove it, but you mentioned his all-world weapon is Christian McCaffrey. CMC has the ability to change the game with one crease or cut, and Fangio's defense is going to have to stay disciplined to prevent him from doing so. And, not just in the run game and the pass game, like you mentioned, all of the targets. And over-pursuit turns those short gains into long ones. San Francisco will test every single angle. Shanahan schemes ways to get him the ball in space better than anybody else in the NFL. He'll line him up everywhere, out wide in the slot, coming out of the backfield. he will always find a way to get him in space. And all of his play calling is always designed to set up the next play, something that we haven't seen too frequently in Philadelphia. It's, the sequential play calling is by design. It's always, what's coming next. But at the end of the day, defensively, if you shut down CMC, you're winning the game.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to go, let's see. Well, so a couple more stats for San Francisco. They are second in offensive DVOA. They're third in passing DVOA. So, again, it is that passing attack. And like we've talked about, a lot of it starts with Christian McCaffrey. I want to talk about Brock Purdy, though. Brock Purdy has played well. One thing I think the Eagles should do in this game is I think Vic should blitz a lot. Like I think you shouldn't. I think you should not sit back and let Kyle Shanahan dictate to you. Hey, Nakobe Dean, we know he's your weak spot in coverage among the linebackers. We're going to get him isolated on Christian McCaffrey. I think they should just blitz Nakobe Dean. Blitz him a lot. If you go look at Brock Purdy this season, and you just look at his splits against the blitz and when not blitzed, he has 0.21 EPA per dropback and a passer rating of 102.2. When you blitz him, that EPA drops to negative 0.1. His passer rating drops to a 95.4. So I think blitzing him does two things. I mean, one, it attacks Brock Purdy in a place where he can struggle sometimes. And two, it takes Nakobe Dean out of coverage. But three, if you can force Christian McCaffrey to stay in to pass protect, that is such a massive, massive win. And as soon as they start to want to do that shuffle motion out, like I would just make that a trigger. They shuffle motion McCaffrey out, Nakobe's blitzing. And so Vic's not a huge blitzer, but we have seen him blitz Nakobe Dean a decent amount this year. That's a button that I would be really interested to see him press. The other thing is that Brock Purdy has been so much better this season when getting the ball out quick. Almost 0.6 EPA per pass attempt when he's releasing under 2.5 seconds, and it drops down to a negative EPA over 2.5 seconds. And so if you can make him, which sounds weird to say, I just said you should blitz. If you can make him hold on to the football, he also struggles at times. And so those are I would like to see Vic kind of mix in an approach where, hey, we're going to send Nakobe Dean, and then we're going to bluff with Nakobe Dean, and maybe we're even going to drop 8 at times and really just try to throw the kitchen sink at the 49ers. But the 49ers play, they only put 3 wide receivers on the field like 43% of the time. They do a lot of 2 tight end stuff, 2 running back stuff, with Kyle Juszczyk counting as a running back. Another huge matchup to watch is going to be if the Eagles can stop their run game playing nickel personnel against the more heavy personnel the 49ers are going to deploy, because I do think that's ideal. You don't want to start having to go into base and all of a sudden you've got to deal with 3 linebackers trying to cover Juszczyk, McCaffrey, Kittle. And so being able to stop the run from nickel personnel, I think, is also going to be a huge one. So that's my offensive stuff, I guess. Empty the chamber there. Anybody else have anything they want to talk about? Eagles offense, or excuse me, 49ers offense versus Eagles defense?
Yeah, just that if Kittle is going to be healthy, he's certainly somebody that's can move the chains real easy. So yeah, I kind of wonder, just given the matchups, how much Nakobe should play versus Campbell, just because I think they like to pass. As you said, CMC hasn't had his greatest running season. So, and considering that, Jihad is much better pass defender than a run defender. So it'll be interesting to kind of see that balance, because Nakobe can obviously affect the game, but it'll be important to have Jihad out there as well.
Yeah, that's Brett Eclipse chimed in and asked about Nakobe swapping out for Campbell if Christian McCaffrey gets going as a receiver. We'll certainly see. There are negatives run defense-wise, and then you're talking about trying to stop playing against heavier personnel from nickel too. So it'll be interesting to see how they approach that at all. I certainly think he asked about blitzing Nakobe and dropping Hunt into coverage. I certainly think you'll see that some. Yeah. I mean, Hunt has more interceptions than anybody on the team.
Oh.
You got to put that guy in coverage sometimes.
All right. So, yeah, sorry, Brad. I didn't actually read that before I started talking. So,
One other matchup I'll mention that is an interesting one to watch. It's Trent Williams' status is up in the air if he's going to play. But if Trent Williams does play, Trent Williams versus Adoree Jackson is a key matchup to watch because Trent Williams likes to get in a fight with the smallest guy on the field if his team's losing in the fourth quarter because he's a scumbag. And so that is Adoree Jackson at 5'11", 185 pounds, so you can keep an eye on Trent Williams trying to start a fight with Adoree Jackson if the game's not going their way.
So who did he grab and just absolutely slammed to the ground? It was some, like, I want to say like
Von Wallace.
That wasn't Kevon. Yeah, that was
Yeah, I was going there. I was like, who was the Clemson guy? It was Kevon Wallace. And not the only guy he's done that to, by the way. He's done that to multiple, always a defensive back, but he does that to defensive backs semi-regularly. So
he punched Richard Sherman too. Like, there's a whole list of guys he's done that with. They're all 140 pounds lighter than him, but yeah.
Yeah, and Trent Williams is what, almost 40? Like, what are you doing? What are you doing, buddy? Act your age, pal.
He's angry. We might see Dom mix it up. Didn't he get in a fight last time we played them?
It's Dre Greenlaw.
With Greenlaw, who's thankfully in Denver right now. But you never know. Maybe he gets a couple cracks in post game.
Yeah, you might see it. So, all right. Well, let's flip it over to the other side of the ball. We just talked about the good on good matchup. Let's talk about the bad on bad matchup. The 49ers defense has been absolutely atrocious this season. They rank 27th in DVOA. They are 26th against the pass, 25th against the run, so they're bad all the way around. They have the least sacks in the NFL with 20. They are third worst in terms of pressure rate, and a lot of that comes from their defense was built around two superstars in Bosa and Warner, and both of those guys sustained season-ending injuries pretty early on. Now, there's been smoke about Warner coming back by like NFC Championship game. Unfortunately for 49ers fans, they're losing this weekend, so that's not going to happen, but it's on the radar at least. But so let's dive into those matchups. Ryan, I'll throw it to you first. Eagles offense versus 49ers.
Yeah, I think kind of playing off the linebacker injuries, and didn't they just lost somebody for the year from last week that was filling in for Warner, I believe.
They just signed Kazir White.
God, jeez. Well, I think to take kind of advantage of that, I'm hopeful. And I would be looking for a Dallas Goedert day. Him up the seams, play with that middle of the field. Dallas Goedert absolutely can thrive right there. And certainly, you put him out wide on one of those little, tight end screens and have him stiff arm somebody into oblivion. The linebackers aren't great. They're not going to be able to get out in space. So let's look for Dallas Goedert to really eat up some yards, eat up some of the middle, and hopefully Jalen actually uses the middle this time, and or at least that's the play call. So.
All right, David, what about you? What's your top matchup to watch?
I'll go with the run game. I think it has found some traction the last few weeks. And if Jalen Hurts is comfortable threatening defenses with his legs, I think the Eagles could surprise teams this postseason, despite the offensive line that's still searching for health and the magic that they had last year. Obviously, Saquon will be central to the rushing plan, but I think Tank Bigsby has earned some touches. I'm not saying 10, 6 touches in the game. I mean, what he did over the season with limited touches was impressive, and what he did against the Commanders was yet again. And if the Eagles can make this a downhill game early, it just limits how aggressive San Francisco can be defensively. I would love to see all three of them out there at the same time, Hurts, Tank, and Saquon, in some split back sets, pro sets, whatever. Just, I think Hurts doesn't need to be perfect, but adding RPOs and using his legs is, I alluded earlier, they were slow burning this thing this year. I do think that was intentional, that they haven't been using his legs. I don't know if it's Jalen himself. I don't know if it was the coaching staff. I have no idea. We might never know. We might find out in March. But I do believe they haven't been doing that. And I do think it can flip the way these games have been going really quickly if they started utilizing some of those plays. Hurts doesn't need to be perfect, but I still think that, unfortunately, they'll probably use a conservative approach, which is not what a lot of fans want to hear. but their aversion to turnover is just their identity. It's what will continue to drive their play. But on the positive side, I do expect them to open it up more than what we've seen during the season, especially if they can add in some RPOs, some, pro sets, and just get Hurts going with his legs, because I think that is the ultimate cheat code, and it could also help a leaky offensive line. I mean, it's apparent, like I mentioned at the top with Drew Kendall and Cam Williams and Toth, you can just see how much more mobile they are. And it's just been very frustrating to watch them not be able to, burst off the line and get down the field, which is what Juergens is there for. I mean, he's not a strong guy, to be in there the way a lot of centers are. He is there to get to that second level to assist down the field, and has just been missing. So Hurts could, clear a lot of that up quick.
All right. Yeah, I think when you look at the defense for the 49ers, again, I mentioned earlier, they have not been able to get pressure on teams. It's just not something they have been able to do. And they also just don't blitz very often. They blitz at the number 24 rate in the league. And when they do it, they're not very good at it. So I don't expect to see them under a lot of pressure. And when they play their coverage, it's going to be a lot of cover 3 is kind of their base coverage, and their second most frequently used coverage is cover 1 man. And so there's the potential you're going to get a lot of those single high looks that the Eagles have thrived on in years past. Maybe not so much this year, but you're probably going to get a lot of single high safety looks. They do play a decent amount of cover 2 as well, which is problematic for the Eagles. That's one they've struggled against, but you're probably not going to get a lot of light boxes. And you should honestly be able to run the ball anyways, because, again, they're starting guys that they just signed at linebacker in this game. And so this is a game where you need the offensive line to dominate. The offensive line should be dominant in this game. You should be able to run the ball. You should be able to pick your matchups outside. Obviously, the 49ers have Robert Saleh, and he's a very good defensive coordinator, and maybe he will cook some change-ups up, just like I suggested for Vic Fangio in this game. I think a lot of Saleh as a defensive coordinator, but the Eagles have more talent on their offense than most teams do on defense. The 49ers, their defense is all of their top players are hurt. This is a bad defense, and the Eagles should be able to put up points. Now, whether they will or not is another thing, because it's been a struggle all season long. And, we've seen against a Bills team that was bad against the run. The Bills were 22nd in DVOA against the run. The 49ers were 25th, and the Eagles really struggled. Now, it was a rain game, and they were packing the box maybe a little bit more, and they have the number 1 pass defense, and so, there's some other things that go into it, but this is a game you need the offense to step up and be ready to ride. So David mentioned running. I would go with a heavy dose of empty in this game. Spread these guys out. Create your lanes. Unleash Jalen Hurts in the running game. There's no saving it for next week because it's do or die. And so that's kind of what I'm looking for when the Eagles have the football. Special teams matchup to watch? We add that in for the playoffs? I'm just kidding. Anybody have anything else they want to mention matchup-wise before we get into player of the game and score predictions? All right. Well, let's do it then. Player of the game prediction, score prediction. Give me your winner. David, I'll throw it to you first.
The Eagles have more talent, rest, home field advantage, healthier players, and they know how to win big games. It's time to move past the shortcomings of the regular season and push the pedal to the floor offensively. And like we mentioned, unleash the running game. The optimist in me believes that they'll be able to do this. The offense functions at a much higher level if Jalen Hurts is willing to use his legs in the running game and to extend plays out of structure to make plays down the field. So I'm going with Jalen Hurts as player of the game. I think he shines brightest when the moments are the biggest. I think that they are going to utilize his legs. I think he'll utilize them, whichever way you want to word it. They'll run the ball. They'll win early downs, protect the football, which is something they, have really driven home this year. And I think the defense just takes the air out of the game. There's no style points now, like you just said. It's just survive and advance. And I think they're willing to do that at this point. You're not protecting him from anything. This is where you wanted to get him healthy. This is where we're at. So Jalen Hurts, player of the game, Eagles 31-23.
All right. Before I throw it to Ryan, we got a question here from Philly Reese. Any news on Andrew Makuba? Is this you?
Is that me?
It feels like it should be you, Ryan.
Should be me.
I don't think it's you.
It's not me.
As far as I know, he's still on IR, right?
Yeah, he hasn't practiced it or anything.
Yeah, I thought there was a chance he'd be ready for the first round, but I assume if we haven't heard anything, yeah, we'll see next week, I guess, maybe.
All right. Brett Eclipse also asked over under 4.5 3-and-outs, David.
Under.
All right. I feel like David was supposed to come up with some over-unders for this week. Weren't we adding that? Didn't somebody request that and David was like, I
thought it was one of the people who watch.
Oh, that's right. It was Brett Eclipse, I think.
Well, he just came up with one.
He just came up with one on the fly. Here we go.
One's not good enough.
How many times did they break the huddle with less than 7 seconds?
Over. I don't care what number you say. Over.
Over. Absolutely over.
All right, Ryan. David's got an Eagles win, a Jalen Hurts player of the game. So you can't pick Jalen Hurts, but who is your other player of the game prediction? And give me your score.
I'm gonna kind of double down on what I said earlier. I think Dallas Goedert is ripe for a big game today. Take advantage of their weak point, and their weak point right now is their linebacking core. So yeah, I'll go with Goddard. And I'll go 23-13 Eagles.
All right. I will make it a clean sweep taking the Eagles. I think it's going to I'm more in line with Ryan's score though. I was thinking like 21-13. I think it's going to be a low scoring game. I think the defense is going to be really good. And I think the offense is just going to kind of be what it's been. But I do think something that will get the offense going a little bit is I think the run game is going to take a step. You get Lane Johnson back, maybe, I guess. I heard some smoke that Lane Johnson...
We'll know a lot more by tomorrow.
Yeah, so hard doing preview shows early in the week, but I heard some smoke that maybe he would not be ready to play. I think it was it Brian Baldinger that mentioned something about that? That would be wild to me because he's missed 7 games and they didn't put him on IR. So for you not to come back for game 8 when they thought you might be back before 4 just seems really weird. But hopefully Lane plays. Assuming he plays, I think he will inject a little bit into the run game. Hopefully Cam and Landon Dickerson with the week off play a little bit better and Saquon can get going. Maybe is it dumb to take Saquon after Tank Bigsby just had a great game in week 18? Probably not, because they just won't go back to not using him anyways. But give me Saquon Barkley player of the game. 21-13 Eagles. And we will be back next week previewing a matchup with insert who. I don't know.
Bears.
A home game versus
Rams.
Yeah, the Rams, I guess.
Yeah. We'll know a lot more by then. So clean sweep here with the Eagles wins. David's feeling really confident in the offense. It sounds like Ryan and I aren't feeling super confident still.
I actually think the defense is going to put up 7 points in this game.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So then you're right around where we are.
Now that is a prediction.
Yeah,
that's a prediction.
That sure is.
All right. Well, I think that is going to about wrap it up for this one. We'll throw it around the horn here for plugs and any final thoughts you guys have. So, Ryan, I'll throw it to you first. Any final thoughts? Plug your stuff. Tell the people where they can find you.
Yeah, everything is right here at Philly Sports PSA on X, Twitter, whatever the kids are calling it. Yeah, make sure you're following the Eagles Pinpool Network, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch. Doesn't matter. Wherever you get your podcast, make sure you guys are following each of these guys as well. My next show will be tomorrow around 5:30ish for Football Smack Talk Show, episode 5 million, I'm sure, that I've done. So, yeah, come check me out tomorrow and then check out the rest of the network throughout the week.
All right. Be sure you guys are following Ryan on Twitter at Philly Sports PSA. David, what about you? Final thoughts? Plug your stuff.
Lane Johnson is supposed to practice tomorrow. So I think tomorrow we're going to see everything we need to know. I would be shocked if he doesn't play in this game, but I guess until you put on the pads and go through an actual workout, you really don't know. But I think we'll know by tomorrow afternoon. I apologize for my stuttering. My throat is dry and scratchy for some reason. I keep having to stop mid-sentence and swallow. But so a lot of my words have been broken up this evening. But you can follow everything I do on my X handle or Philly Sports Network and keep supporting everything here at Eagles Pinpool. You guys are why we keep coming back and doing this, especially all your comments in the chat during the show. It just makes it a lot more enjoyable. We enjoy reading your opinions as much as we like hearing our own. So definitely please keep that up. And definitely be back next Tuesday previewing a divisional round playoff game.
We enjoy reading most of your opinions. We'll say that. You know who you are. No, I'm just kidding. Be sure you're following David at David Nice PHL on Twitter. Check out all of his written work as well. Great stuff out there. I don't really have any final thoughts other than it's been a frustrating season at times, but it's always fun covering the Eagles and chatting with you guys on Tuesday nights. And that will continue next week because we all predicted an Eagles win and we're never wrong, right? So be a lot of fun. Come hang out with us on Post-Game Show. I don't even know who's on Post-Game Show. I need to schedule that. But come hang out on Post-Game Show Sunday evening with us. There'll be lots of other stuff on the network throughout the week. Ryan mentioned his show. I know Connor and LJ will be doing a preview show. Johnny and I are still trying to figure out what we're going to do because I don't think we really want an in-depth film recap of that Week 18 game. But we'll come up with something.
Clamoring for it.
Yeah, we are going to do a preview on Patreon. So if you're interested in kind of a deep dive into the 49ers offense, come grab a free 1-week trial of our Patreon at patreon.com/ontheshane page. You can watch my Trotter Jr. player recap, and you can check out our preview, and we'll have a lot of other cool stuff in the playoffs, but you can come check that out with a free 1-week trial. It gets you through the first round of the playoffs, and we think you'll want to stick around. So shout out to everybody in the chat. We appreciate you guys for hanging around with us, and we'll catch you guys next time. Go Birds.